Service process, elevating priority to above normal.
Okay.
Closing tabs.
Boop 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 boop. Boop 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 boop.
Yep. Closing windows. Pulling Trello. Link.
Link.
Yes.
I'll give you a link. I'm waiting for some music, personally, but link's probably good. Link seems important. Link coming in hot.
And your video is already screwing up on me.
Is that something on my end?
No, not really.
Is it something on my end?
No.
I must ask. I feel I must ask that
Caster.
for some reason.
All right. Sharing screen.
1 2 1 2.
1 2 1 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John, you know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP the Ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go.
Nice job, Thomas.
There we go.
Back? You ready?
We
You're
can't hear
muted.
you.
That's why I was waiting.
Yeah, all set.
All right, sounds
I've
good.
got a hype man at my company now. He took great pleasure in telling everyone during stand up how to get to my podcast, that we will be recording live tonight. And
That's awesome. Yeah. Should we wait a little longer for everybody to join?
Nope. Let's go. Let's go.
Welcome all of the people who work with Tom. Welcome
and we're
to
sorry.
The podcast.
Oh wait, what?
Let's go, Joe. Dialing data is ready. Okay, Joe's still up. We need to go fast because we gotta wrap it up before Joe falls asleep.
Yeah. Right. Where's Sarah?
Not on Twitter. I'll tell you that much.
Did she not get the tweet? Did you guys tweet out even?
Yes, I tweeted out. At least you can make fun of yourself. That's great. Oh, crap. My kids are there. Jeez.
And my dog.
I really need to reassign their bedtime. All right. Whose dog's barking?
That's mine.
Not it. Not it.
Hey, we're ready, Tom?
Wait. Now we are.
Okay.
I like the yeah.
Yeah.
What's funny is I'm trying to think of. I keep wanting to say you're listening to episode. Do we do that on this one? We do that, right?
Yes, we do. You
This
do.
one,
Okay. All right.
I got so many podcasts. I don't do that. Which one is this one?
I'm sorry.
Welcome
man.
to PHP Architect. No, welcome to PHP Roundtable. No.
It's been a while. Okay, listen. Hello. I can't pronounce your name. Cryptic, whatever.
Esoteric,
welcome.
esoteric cryptid.
Es-
Learn your leet speak. Jesus Christ.
Really? That is pretty damn good, Thomas. Oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Is this my Spanish speaking kid?
Yes,
that
it
could be a
is.
problem. All right, let's go. Yo, it's the PHP podcast, episode 260.
Not the PHP
Four.
podcast. We are not the PHP podcast. You're welcome to try again, though.
Maybe you should be intro.
Do you have some news? Did you buy another podcast?
We already have PHP.
Welcome
podcasts.
to PHP and Turtles. Wait a minute. No,
Oh,
that's
oh.
another topic. Wait, no. Nobody go with that. Oh, man. See, this is what happens when John gets me drinking before the show. Okay. You're listening. You're listening to PHP Ugly, episode 264. I'm your host, Eric Van Johnson, and with me are my good friends, Tom Rideout
Hello.
and John Congdon.
They call me Mean Daddy.
Mean Daddy.
Mean Daddy.
We have a lot to cover. Welcome
Well,
back.
we missed
by the
a
way,
we missed
everybody.
a week.
Yeah, welcome
Was there
back.
did anything? I think it was pretty quiet. I mean, Thanksgiving. What's going to happen on the week of Thanksgiving?
Exactly.
Not a whole lot, right?
Nothing can
Kind of-
nothing can be earth shattering.
Nothing made. Yeah,
Changing
nothing
the
earth
entire
shattering.
landscape of PHP. The 1 week
Yeah.
we decide to not record. Nothing. What could possibly?
Nothing. No. That's why I didn't even check my news feeds until Wednesday. You know,
I think
don't
this
need
year
to.
we're recording 51 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
The 1 week we don't record.
Yeah.
And I missed it last week. I missed not talking to you guys.
Well, we did.
I didn't miss it at all.
No, we talked on Wednesday.
We
Do you remember?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
It was
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Oh, I don't remember then.
Because we took you from drinking with us to dropping you off to drink more.
Yes, you did take me from a bar and drop me off at another bar, which was like a running theme of my whole vacation.
So let's talk about that for a second. So Tom, John, and I got together IRL, which we don't do very frequently anymore since Tom left the state. And the first topic on our mind that we wanted to discuss is the big announcement in the PHP community of the PHP Foundation and Nikita Popov moving on from being part of PHP. We're going to dive into that a little bit more. But I'm kind of glossing over it for now because when we told Thomas this, Thomas straight up thought we were fucking with him. Like, did not believe anything we were saying. We're like,
Absolutely.
no, we're serious. Tom's like, whatever, let's just drink. I'm like, no, dude, we're serious. So let's
well,
recap.
I didn't have the inside track. I didn't know things in advance.
There was no inside track, dude. That was it, all you had to do is be on the internet. Everybody was talking.
Well, I
about
wasn't on the internet from Sunday to Tuesday when we met up.
Well, it's been being talked about in a couple of places prior to the big announcement. So there was like leaks and things were happening. There was announcements kind of being made, but the official announcement came Monday of last week.
Yeah. So,
and
John, tell us what that official announcement was, and then I'm going to give you guys a little inside scoop. But go ahead.
Okay. So, from my understanding, for a few years, JetBrains, the company behind Phpstorm and the IntelliJ IDE that powers many different languages, hired Nikita Popov and basically paid him to work on internals for years, which is amazing. Of course, they got a lot of help with Phpstorm, making it probably the best IDE for PHP. So it wasn't like they did it just to be generous. They got something out of it. But earlier last year, Joe Watkins, who works for JetBrains, wrote this whole article about the bus factor. And at that time, there's a lot of buzz within the community. I think we talked about it, how Nikita is kind of like the bus factor for the PHP internals group, the people who work on core.
Yeah.
Granted, there's lots of people that contribute, but he was known or thought of as the leader of that, had very strong opinions and so much knowledge around the code base.
Yeah, and really wasn't argued with, because when he stated his opinion, it was a concise 12-page breakdown of the issue and analysis behind like executing temporary versions and stuff, like,
but gave reasons why. It wasn't like you're not gonna do it because I don't like it. There was usually a very good reason behind why, right?
Right.
It's okay.
He wrote the famous PHP will never do generics article.
Yeah.
And then implemented it in Phpstorm.
It turns out, as bright as he is with PHP core, he loves other languages as well, and has decided to move away from JetBrains, move away from PHP, and is working on a couple of the languages. You know, has a passion around something else, and stepping away from PHP for now.
So I had to do some looking into it. He's moving on to LLVM, which is a sort of like framework for creating new languages. So like, just he's in love with the concept of programming languages and making them, but like C# and Kotlin and Rust are all LLVM languages.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. So anyway, Phpstorm, when they got this news from Nikita, decided they realized the hole that was going to be left in internals, and decided, hey, the money we are currently spending, or probably a portion of the money we're currently spending on Nikita, we're going to start this PHP Foundation. They are contributing $100,000, I think, yearly to the foundation, and hoping other companies step on to help contribute towards PHP internals people, to keep PHP moving forward and make it easier to, or make that hole less huge in internals currently. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right, fill in the backstory. What did I miss? What do you have?
Well, you haven't actually. Did you? I mean, did we talk about Foundation, or do you want to get in?
Well, we can. I mean, the PHP Foundation was started by JetBrains. Anyone can contribute to it. Again, we knew about it early on, so Diego Dev and PHP Architect stepped in quickly to contribute a little bit monthly. I mean, it's not a huge amount. Now that it's more well known, you got people contributing tens of thousands of dollars, which we cannot do. But
front and center is Taylor Rotwell.
Not anymore. Yeah, he's still.
I mean, he's still there, but yeah, 10,000 a year.
No, it's you can look. You can click on people's names, and you'll know if it's a one-time donation or if it's a monthly, yearly. Anyway, that doesn't matter.
I thought the one time was yearly, or I thought no. It was. I thought the 10,000 was yearly.
If you click on them, you'll see that what they're contributing. Anyway, the foundation is trying. There's going to be a board that will oversee internals work. You can apply basically to have a part-time or a full-time role as a developer on PHP core, and there's still a lot up in the air, and we're going to see how it shakes out here in the near future.
All right. So let me give you guys for the first time in public, the inside scoop. That's all just to cover. Nikita Popov has actually been very upset with PHP internals for months. He hasn't been happy with the release managers at 8.1. He felt that election was stolen from me. And he said, if they don't get rid of Ben, I'm out of here.
There's the mute here.
I'm like, Nikita,
you need your Native American headdress.
But don't do that, Nikita. I said to myself, I assume Nikita heard me. I am sure that's what happened. We all need to blame Ben Ramsey for the fact that Nikita Popov is leaving PHP forever. And quite frankly, the language is going to crash. It's going to crash, and it's all Ben Ramsey's fault because he wanted to steal the election to be release manager 8.1. There you go. The truth's out there. Do with it as you please.
No one burns a bridge like you, Eric.
No, I go back to that bridge and then I set it ablaze again. That's what I do. No, obviously I'm joking, but did I share with you, Thomas? Ben Ramsey was on Voices of the Elephant, and he kind of kept the whole thing going. Did I share that with you? Did you hear that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was fantastic. I felt bad for Karate because I had just interviewed him for PHP Architects Community Corner. You know, he's a super nice guy, right? He I don't think he has a mean bone in his body, and I don't think he could get the humor. But Ben was, to his credit, on point with it, and told Karate that the only reason he ran for a release manager was so that I wouldn't get the position, and called me out by name. And there was just like this silence.
Poor guy.
Feel it.
You gotta love the inside jokes that 5 people get in an audience of thousands.
Credit to our Discord. Somebody in Discord had turned me on to that, and I'm like, oh, that's too good. So yeah, that was I've been waiting to share that with you two for a week now. I've been building that story up in my head. I was going to put together little doctored images of me and Nikita having dinner or something, but that might have been taking it too far. I don't know.
Yeah. So losing Nikita is a huge blow to internals. But hopefully the foundation can get some good contractors, build some stuff up, and keep us going.
Yeah. I think the foundation, I mean, this is something we've talked about for a while. It's not a PHP issue as far as like, this is only something PHP struggles with. It's any big open source language like PHP. PHP just happens to be one of the older ones and it's been doing it for the longest. But you get these, these are volunteers who need to make a living, and it's nice to see that something's being put in place. I mean, not necessarily it's not going to be full-time jobs for people, but
there will be some positions full-time.
Yeah,
from what it sounds like.
It's an interesting spin on open source and being able to make money while contributing to open source. I hope it's successful. Obviously, we want it to be successful. We're backing it from both of our company's standpoint, Diego Dev and PHP Architect. I like to see. There's a lot that's unknown still, like how the board's going to be established, who's going to be on the board, how funds are going to be distributed, how those decisions are being made, how much transparency.
I have my money. My money is on Taylor trying to get on the board.
Oh, I don't think Taylor cares. Taylor does not care.
Taylor's not part of internals. He's got the framework, but it's not internals.
Yeah, Taylor doesn't care. PHP could probably go away. Taylor would just rewrite framework or rewrite Laravel in another language. I don't think Taylor. I mean, not that he doesn't care about PHP. Obviously, he cares $10,000 worth of contributing to PHP Foundation, but I don't think he feels like his complete enterprise hinges on the success of PHP. I think he wants to be a good citizen and wants to see it successful, but I don't know.
And there's plenty of other people. I don't know why we call Taylor out specifically. There's plenty of other contributors. Yeah, because it's fun to give him a hard time. Love you, Taylor. But there's plenty of other people contributing, not just companies but individuals as well.
Yeah,
it's exciting. I really want to see where it goes, and I'm pretty sure the board initially is going to be made up of people from internals currently. I'm sure it's set up as a completely separate nonprofit. So while JetBrains got it going, all they are is going to be a financial backer at that point. They are not going to have. I don't think they're going to have seats on the board per se. They're not going to have voting power.
The other thing you need to keep in mind, and I got just some clarification on as well, is that the board is not internals. These are not two in the one, not the same entity. These are completely different entities. In concept, the board doesn't have influence on how internals votes are ran. Now, I say that, but
I really want Eric to throw his hat in to be on the board, just so we can see him emotionally crushed one more time. Just
you enjoy my suffering way
devastated.
Too much, Thomas.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, I don't envy people on this board. I think it's going to be a lot of work. I think there's going to be a lot of drama. I think there's going to be a lot of scrutiny. Yeah, I don't envy it, but I'm very happy it's there. And looking forward to the people seeing how well it's ran and all that. I think it's great. It's conceptually such a great idea for an open source project the size of PHP, and that is as old as PHP.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very, very hopeful for it. I do want to say something. Moving on, do we have more we want to talk about there?
No, but I have one thing to say here.
Sure.
Is I'm going to zoom in on you for this one. You ever see those movies where the person is in a haunted house and they're making some kind of realization, and as they spin around, like the modern house that was around them starts to crumble down, and you see the cracks in the wall and everything starts disappearing? I feel like every episode lately that's been happening at your house, because every time you show up on camera, it's just stuff is just missing. Like stuff is still in the place that it was, but there's just everything is just missing, one piece at a time.
Well,
I understand.
On that note, we should say congratulations to Eric.
Congratulations! I understand that you've closed twice this week.
Once.
Just once. We closed on the house we bought, so that's finished. We are official owners of that house. The residents there are renting the house back for another month. That was part of the agreement, but we now own that house. Our house, where I'm at right now, gets closed on next week. So the people who are buying the house from me will be closing on this house next week. So
okay.
I am officially 100% out of here next week.
So where are you going to be living for the next?
That is a great question, Tom. I'll let you know. I'll let you know as soon as
I'll let you know on a daily basis which corner I'm on.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Which bridge I'm under.
Unrelated, we have a new Patreon perk. You get to live with Eric Van Johnson for a week at the $5 level. He'll move his stuff right into your house. You don't even have to go to his place.
That's about right, man.
We'll be picking people randomly out of the perk list for that one.
Whether you want it or not, it's happening. Yeah. I'm just gonna show up on your doorstep. I live here now.
Yeah. ButteryCrumpets, I hope you're listening. Yeah, you're gonna need to get that spare room built out.
Hey, we got some other fun news.
That's
something on my bookshelf back here that just came in today.
What's that?
This is
looks like a cookbook.
Closer to the camera. So the first book that we got to publish at PHP Architect since Eric and I took over is Grumpy's the complimentary PHP testing tools cookbook. And it's a very interesting, I'll put that back first. It's a very interesting book in the sense that he takes you through his one of his old applications, a legacy application that every couple of years he says he upgrades, and went through all the tools step by step of how he uses them to upgrade from PHP versions to other packages. And it's just a great read, very straightforward step by step things to think about when upgrading. Now available on phparch.com.
And if you don't know who Grumpy is, he is the king of PHP unit testing.
He's also leaving PHP because of the release manager situation. No, wait, is that a rumor? Sorry.
Yeah, that's how you get in real trouble.
Starting PHP drama all over again.
So that's like everything that happened this week, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, that's it. I just have a link here that's like the PHP News Archive. Oh, 8.1 released on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, what's up with that? Who is running things over there? Who's going to release 8.1 on a major holiday? Come on, internals. Get your release managers in order.
You joke, but our Docker container build pipeline wasn't explicit enough about the version of PHP that it was supposed to build. So when the Docker container got tagged, it built itself an 8.1 container.
Oh, really?
And yeah, we had a slight almost emergency. Fortunately, it got caught quickly. But
what would have broken though?
I don't believe it would have broken anything on our system. We're actually we're ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
We have a ticket that was created before the release that was ready to go out on the date of release.
Mm-hmm.
But it could have broken something if we weren't ready for it. There are breaking changes.
So I'm confused. You started that story by saying you caught it quick enough so that it didn't. I'm confused. Did the auto upgrade cause problems or no?
It didn't, but that's because the person in charge of the ticket for the Docker container got notification that morning that it had been released or tagged, and went to build their version and realized that they were already building the 8.1 version locally. So released an emergency patch that would prevent new pushes from building 8.1.
So did you have to roll back to 8.0?
No.
That's where I'm so confused.
So production was on 8.0 because nothing had been pushed yet.
Right.
Had something other than this patch been pushed, it would have upgraded itself to 8.1.
And that would have caused problems?
Not for us, because we were ready for it. We've already been writing in the 8.1 approved syntaxes. But if we weren't ready for it, it could, because there are breaking changes.
Okay. Eric, are you as confused as I am, or am I just not
I stopped caring,
understanding?
to be honest. But he did remind me of something. He's since Tom is kind of praising his people he works with, I've got to do a little of the same. I got to be honest with you.
Aw, thanks, buddy.
So if you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you know John and I have a development group we run with a bunch of developers.
As well as a tenuous marital style relationship.
we have our kids.
Calling them developers is, I think, underselling them a little bit, because it's kind of a full stack sort of crew. And when I say full stack, I mean hardware to back end to everything. I'm not talking JavaScript and that crap. I mean a true full stack. These guys, the whole team just does a great job. But when we started the company, and our business model to our clients is that even our shirts, I don't know if this is one of the shirts that says it, but our whole model was a hive mind, where like one developer is never by themselves. Everybody's working on things. And ideally that's how it works out. we have a lot of good communication between the people who work on projects with for the clients that we have. And for the most part, pretty happy with it. But every now and then things start to get kind of splinter off and everybody kind of gets into their little funnels and that communication breaks down a little bit. We've been working on getting a client upgraded to the current Laravel release. So this is a client, one of our longest running clients we've been working on for a very long time, legacy code base. We've been slowly moving them over to a Laravel infrastructure, but it's our fault. That kind of stalled a little bit, and we got
5.4.
Yeah, it was pretty far back, and we got stuck on this old version of Laravel, and Laravel just kept maturing, and we just kept falling further and further behind. So we've had developers working on getting that updated to the current release of Laravel, and that got rolled out today, not to production. I think it's on staging now. That goal was to get it on production, but the client wasn't totally comfortable with it, and so we ended up holding off. But
to be clear, the client wanted us to wait till February of next year.
Very true, yeah. But the thing is it was such a pleasure working in that Slack channel today and seeing everybody work together. It was seriously like a well-oiled machine. Everybody was kind of doing their thing. There was a plan in place to do the upgrade. Every little hiccup that came up, everybody was talking to everyone. It was that true, like what we had envisioned of that hive mind of, one person isn't trying to solve all the problems, and everybody was in there fixing things. And the upgrade went very smoothly. The things that held us up really were the client's feedback and trying to get the client to sign off on things. It was one of those like really good feelings, as just when you work on a team. Not even the fact that it's our company and our client. It's just like when you work on a team and see everything fall into place correctly, and just everybody picking up everybody else. And it was, I wish I could bottle today and just have it on my desk, so the next time I needed that, I could just open it. It was very good.
You know what we need to do? We
pay him more? No, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say, just tell them this, because some of the feedback we get from our little monthly surveys that go out are like, I don't know if I'm doing a good job.
No,
I don't want them to get listen to the podcast.
Yeah, nah.
The podcast get all their praise comes in the podcast form.
Oh, we pay them not to listen to the podcast? Just saying.
That's weird, because I know 3 of them pay to listen to the podcast. Which is weird, but
true.
But yeah, okay. I wanted to put that out there. I didn't want that to slip. I know we have a lot more to talk about, but I wanted to get that out. The guys at the I keep saying guys. Team at the Diego Dev, you all did a fantastic job. I don't care what John complains about all the time. You guys, number one in my book.
That must be a different Slack channel than I have. I must be banned from that one, because the only thing I saw in Slack today from your team was a discussion about you murdering hobos to take over their seats in Balboa Park.
I did not see any of this.
That was a lengthy conversation
about my blade skills.
Yeah. People are throwing bets into whether or not Eric has the actual skill to take down a season.
This is why I ban you from channels, Tom. You release too much of the inside stuff to people. I tell you.
Hey,
guess what? Not only is Nikita leaving PHP, Jack Dorsey is leaving Twitter. What?
Hell yeah. Oh, God. Imagine how bad that would feel, though, if you said you're leaving your company and the next morning their stock prices went up 10%.
Yeah,
Come on, guys. Jeez.
I was joking. I wasn't really going to leave.
God.
I got to. Yeah, I did think it was funny how leading up to last week, unfortunately, we didn't record last week, but leading up to last week, we had been talking a lot about people leaving projects and leaving companies, and
we've been talking about it for months in our
it.
magazine.
Yeah,
about change and rolling with it and all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah, it just kind of. I mean, what do we have? We had Ned leave from GitHub. We had who else left? Somebody else left after the GitHub one. I forget.
I don't know.
Then,
I think everyone's coming out of the pandemic fog, and they're like, "I got to make a big change."
And being offered a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen to us. Damn it!
I do think I'm convinced now. I am totally convinced. Not only because my friend Nikita quit PHP internals because Ben Ramsey's running as a release manager.
Not way quick.
But but what else have we been talking a lot about? About how JetBrains really needed to get on board with this VS Code situation, and how VS Code now had, what was it, VSCode.dev, and it was a complete. I don't know. Is VS Code an IDE? That's still an IDE, right? I mean,
it's a full featured IDE. Yeah, it's a fully featured IDE.
Okay. Full feature IDE in your browser, right? And they needed to do something about it. And God damn it, they heard us. They heard us.
Did they?
They absolutely heard us. They came out with several solutions, several potential, which I will be trying from some undisclosed bridge in the near future. Okay,
yes.
So here's the thing. I've got, you all know me, right? We all have our little camps we're in, but I am the most open-minded. I will do my own stuff, but I will bounce around.
Wait, we're calling that open-minded?
It's absolutely open-minded. I'm the one telling you guys about all the new stuff.
All right. No, that's...
Which reminds me, I'm going to go on a little side tangent, because this was brought up. Since we weren't recording last week, we had a couple of listeners go back and listen to old shows. I'm like, you know what? This isn't the first time this has happened. I really should go back and listen to our shows. And I started listening to our old shows. We used to really enjoy doing this. We used to like each other. This is horrifying.
That's because I wasn't on most of them.
No, it did remind me of the California Legalizes Weed episode, which is a story that we are all very familiar with, but I think our listeners are not all very familiar with, which is that when California legalized weed, before the episode, John figured he'd try it out. And we didn't realize until while I was editing the next day that John only spoke when directly spoken to. So Eric said, "Hey, John, how are you doing?" And that was the last thing he said until "Keep It Ugly." And we just didn't notice. But he was the whole time staring straight at the screen, intense.
Try not to fall asleep.
Don't throw.
I have to get to. I can't wait to get to that one. But for those interested, I started I've been using Notion a lot. We're actually using it as part of our PHP architect workflow. It's really cool once you get your head wrapped around it. But I started a Notion page, and because if you remember, Tom, like at first, I didn't realize how long it was before John joined us. We did 6, I think 5 or 6 shows by ourselves.
We did 6. That was just me and you.
And I was on number 6, according to your notes.
We weren't really keeping show notes back then. I think we kept some,
I kept them in the subreddit, which still exists but has 0 activity.
Well, not when we first started. That didn't happen to years later.
I think it was a month.
So this is why I'm doing this.
Yes,
I am totally capturing all the shit that you say. This was my idea. I did this. And I'm listening to the show. I'm like, you idiot. You're not. It's right there in the show. The funniest thing though is I think it was like the first or second show. listening to your praise and your love and admiration for Taylor Otwell and how much you thought he was the greatest guy, how fantastic Laravel was.
How do you delete a podcast?
I mean, it is so bizarre. But I hadn't initially, I wasn't initially doing this to share with people. So there's a lot of, John does this or I do this or that. And it's just like, I'm like, I just talked about just how crazy you are about Laravel and Taylor. It was so weird. But I started recording like the first time you mentioned Rocket League, because Rocket League was like such a big thing there for a while.
Yeah.
How I kept referring to, before John joined the show, how I kept referring to John as my partner.
Yeah.
My partner.
Well, you still do.
What's great is our second show, the second time you and I recorded, you flat out forgot my name.
I think that the drinking before the show or during the show shifted at some point.
No, wait a minute. That was the other thing that blew my mind, right? Is on one of the shows, I have to go back through, you talk about how you don't drink when you code. Like it's like... Huh?
I still don't.
What? You're out of your mind.
I don't.
Oh, whatever.
I can probably tell you the exact same thing I told you then, which is that I have done it in the past, and every morning when I look at it, I go, "What the fuck is this?" No, I don't. I don't drink and code. It's bad.
I'm looking
bad
at
juju.
Episode 3, Tom talks about how 30 minutes is about just the right amount of time for this length of this podcast. Like, we really don't need more than 30 minutes.
I think that's still the case. We just go over by 30 minutes every week.
See, the first time I mentioned that I drink scotch was on episode 4. You start talking about Vue.js. Oh, your praising of Laracast goes on. Tom mentioned
Laracast is still great.
Yeah.
It's just that there's nothing on there I need anymore. I've done it.
So I don't know if I'm going to make it through all these shows. A listener has offered to help with the notes and see if that happens, but I'm actually enjoying I'm enjoying it. Again, as somebody who edits the podcasts, which I have now confirmed I was the one editing the podcast from the beginning because we talked about it on the show. So whatever. But as I remember editing the podcast early on, and if you guys remember, we used to do the clap check and we all recorded separately and we had to line everything up. There was so much noise and so much every time somebody hit a desk or hit something, it is so irritating to listen to. And now I listen to it, I'm like,
it's so nice that you say somebody, because it was John every time.
No, I think I was the one guilty of hitting my mic all the time.
You did that, but John would drop screwdrivers and stuff on his desk.
That's true.
He had a whole
or he had the little
project.
clicky thing.
Yeah.
Remember when he had the clicky
Oh,
thing?
yeah.
I'm like, you motherfucker, would you stop with the clicky thing?
whole side projects during the episodes we were recording.
Look how young you guys look on episode 29.
I know, it's rough. Speaking of which, I had a birthday dinner this week with my wife and all my kids. And I looked at the table with all of us sitting there and I whispered to my wife.
Was it your birthday?
No, it was my twins' birthday.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I looked at the table and I said, "Honey, you're not going to believe this, but we're not legally responsible for any of these people anymore. We could just leave. They can't stop us anymore." My twins are 18 and the oldest one is 19. And what a bizarre feeling to have a house full of people who you can just be like, "You know what? Gonna have to bail. Not gonna get an apartment. See you guys later. Good luck." It's very nice. It's just having
Both my kids are well beyond the 18.
Oh yeah, not gonna do it.
I have to say 100%. I never thought of doing that ever in my life.
I'm not
You're
saying
a
I'm gonna
horrible
do
person,
it.
and you should.
Okay.
You should
That's
not
not the
have more
topic of
kids.
this podcast. That's the topic of last week's podcast.
I mean, I will admit, like from the moment my kids hit 18, I thought, okay, we're counting down. Like they're going to be moving out any day now. They'll be moving. I never once thought, hell, shit, we'll just move out. Screw up.
Wow. I've met your kids. I like them. They're nice.
Oh,
they listen to the show. Of course, they're nice.
Yeah,
I know. Your kids don't listen to our show.
They're being very polite tonight. I'm actually happy. Oh, there they go. Hey, never mind. Woke them up.
Should we talk about the opening where I said they call me Mean Daddy?
Kind of don't want to. Just I want to leave it hanging there.
Sure, not, John. Let's make it about you. God.
So Eric and I met tonight before the show. Had a couple beers, and I brought a chess set. I'm like, he's talked about wanting to play chess. We decided we're going to play chess, and in there, as we're playing, I'm like telling him I taught my kids, and to me, they call me Mean Daddy because I'm always mean. I don't take any prisoners. It's just like, I'm going to take your queen because you left it hanging there. Yeah, I left my queen hanging. Eric took it.
I'm retiring from chess. I'm officially undefeated. Thank you very much.
We're talking through every move, and he says, "Oh, I was thinking about doing this." I'm like, "Okay, but I'm gonna do this, and I'll trade my rook every day of the week for your queen, no problem." I make a different move, and he's like looking. He's very confused, and then it hits me. I'm like, "Oh shit! I didn't see that." Yeah, Eric legitimately won his first game against me.
You got to be really careful because Eric is already a bully, and as a chess bully, I could not imagine the troubles he would raise. Although, if you're going to be living in a public park for a while, chess is a good game.
Yo, that's good to know. That's true. If I'm going to prison, I might want to play that. It was funny because not ever playing with a person before. I've played a couple times on the computer, and I've been watching a lot of courses. Like, I thought he was baiting me. Like, I'm looking at my moves. I'm like, there has to be a reason he's doing this. Like, what am I missing? I was just waiting for him to blow me out of the water the moment I did it. And to John's defense, or to John's credit, I was going to bail on my plan because, like I said, we're talking through it all, and I'm explaining to it, and so I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to do it. And John makes his move. He goes, "I'll do it." he's like, just do it. I'm like, no. What am I missing? He's like, you're not missing anything. Just do it.
I messed up here royally. I did. I keep trying to tell him, I have an 800 rating on chess.com or whatever. I'm like, that's nothing. I'm still a beginner. I screw up constantly.
That's the thing, is that John has been playing against his kids for too long. He's going to bed at the end of the night. I wonder if I should take the Grandmaster track.
Should I go pro? I think I should go pro.
It seems like I'm really good at this. Like, this is going well for me. Then he plays one person who has studied for 5 hours and watched the Queen's Gambit, and it's like, yeah, did you mean to leave your queen there? That seems like a mistake.
All right, we got totally off track.
We're off track. There's still crazy news.
Screw the news. I have more funny stories. I like the personal funny stories. I got another funny story I want to share.
We'll go back to it. Save it. No, okay. Save it for now.
No, I want to hear the funny story.
No, I like save it. Go.
Okay, I got a funny story too. Don't let me forget. We're going to do funny stories.
With PHP 8.1 releasing, we are losing all support for 7.4.
Really? I thought we were getting back on track.
We are getting back on track. We're losing active support for 7.4.
We were talking about Jetbrains. I wanted to talk about...
Oh, more Jetbrains stuff?
More Jetbrains stuff. Maybe we should take a break and thank our sponsors. What do you think? Is it a
it's
good
probably
time to thank our
idea.
sponsors? Let's do that.
Honey Badger.
Honey Badger transforms you into a DevOps hero by combining error, uptime, and cron monitoring into a single easy-to-use platform. Stop wasting your time tailing logs and deploy with Swagger. Visit honeybadger.io today to level up.
Thank you, Honey Badger.
Thanks, Honey Badger.
We do appreciate your support. All right. So we were talking about JetBrains, how JetBrains listens to the show clearly because, we were not concerned. We were talking about VS Code and how a lot of developers are shifting back to VS or over to VS Code, and VS Code has the VSCode.dev site now where you have your complete IDE and a browser.
As well as
Played with a little
GitHub.dev. So if you're looking at a file and you change the domain from .com to .dev, it opens that file in an active VS Code browser.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. That's a little trick that maybe you guys don't know about.
I use it all the time now.
Yeah.
Can't you just hit
change
dot as well?
Yes, you
Just hit
can.
period?
Just hit period and it'll do it too.
Yeah. So, with all that said, JetBrains has released a couple of tools, which I am thinking about giving a try. I did some experimenting with, but I'm going to probably give it a try. I'm really hoping that somebody wants to write an article about this for PHP Architect in the very near future.
Well, I'm sure there's someone at JetBrains whose job is to do just that.
So first thing, let's talk about the lightweight VS Code.
I was a little confused about this. Not VS Code. This is the lightweight editor.
Right. That's what I was talking about. One of the strengths that VS Code has is it compared to a tool like PHPStorm. Let's all just focus on PHPStorm because that's who we are. JetBrains has a ton of IDEs which is another problem, right? No matter what language you code in, you fire up VS Code and you can configure it for that language. PHPStorm has different IDEs for all this stuff, right? It's bulky, it's a little slow. That's always my argument with using Vim is, hey, it's fast. Like I can switch around and things and blah, blah, blah. I don't have to, I can go from Python to PHP and, well, it seems like JetBrains is going to give this a shot where they're not replacing anything. They're just adding a new tool to their tool chain.
It's a weird tool.
Why is it weird?
To me, it feels like it's competing with Notepad++.
Let's make sure we're talking about the same thing. I'm talking about Fleet, right? Fleet.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not released yet. It's in private beta. You can request to be part of the private beta. I have requested, and I don't know. I just got an email reply going, ha ha ha. I'm like, what the hell is that? Where's that coming from? What?
I got the same one. Weird.
First thing about Fleet, does not currently support PHP.
Right. That's true. Coming soon.
Coming soon.
Which is weird. So I wonder what, like, I always assumed PHP was like one of the top IDEs for them. What do you think is the top one? Python?
PyCharm.
PyCharm.
It's probably not their top paid. Their top paid is probably the JavaScript one, the Node one.
Really? I would think Java. Not.
I still would think it would be PHPStorm, but
okay. Well, I mean, I'm sure they say.
Well, all right. Well, again, we don't need to get sidetracked. That's fine. So Fleet looks very much like VS Code.
Wait, the next time you're at dinner with Nikita, Eric, ask him.
Good. I think we're gonna go play Ultimate this weekend. We'll see. I'll bring it up. Inside joke. Don't worry about it.
They have an IDE for iOS and macOS development, which is probably very popular.
Are you still looking that up? I thought you were looking at Fleet stuff. So Fleet looks very cool. Looks lightweight. I would be more than happy to give this a try. There are a couple of things I'm not completely understanding, like the whole enabling of smart mode. Like, I'm not sure.
So Phpstorm, JetBrains IDE in general is a Java application. Yes?
Yep.
Mhm.
Whereas VS Code is a Node JavaScript application. I believe that the reason that they don't support PHP or C++ or C# right now is because this is their venture into the Node category of IDEs. I think they're trying to get faster and faster, and Node is significantly faster than JavaScript or than Java right now. So,
But they it's supporting Java.
yeah, because Java is like the first thing you learn in comp sci now,
I think it's weird they're
and
not
it's
supporting
Java's
PHP yet, but I'm
Java's
sure
easy
that
to implement too.
there's a reason. There's a reason for it.
But this is a competitor sort of for Notepad++ right now. They make it clear, right
Why
up
do you
front,
say that?
because they say this is a lightweight editor, and later on explicitly say it's also an IDE. So it's like it's an extensible editor, which is what Notepad++ is, or what
I think
VS
that's what
Code
they
is.
I would say I think that's what they consider VS Code to be as well. I mean,
Right, I
I
think so
think they
too.
consider their tool an IDE. Like out of the box, it's an IDE.
Right, and I think
these others,
in its non-smart mode, I believe it's just a syntax highlighter, and it brings spell check and code completion, like simple code completion. But in its smart mode, it loads plugins that are language specific, which is basically what VS Code does, and isn't actually that different from what JetBrains' big product is the full featured IDE, or the
Where are you seeing this
IntelliJ
smart
Studio.
mode?
So smart mode is like a little icon next to in the top right corner on Mac.
if
that
you click on the
basically
link I sent, I thought I saw it in this article somewhere. Maybe I
Not
didn't.
in the one that I just moved over. I didn't see it.
Mm.
I like the fact
Yes.
the whole that it has collaboration built in.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be exciting in that case because it's real time pair programming. Seems like it's going to be a lot better in that than Code with Me is.
I think it's their next IDE. I think this is going to replace Phpstorm or IntelliJ, and they just have to work up to it, and that's why it's in beta right now, because it has a lot of their sort of cutting edge features, such as remote work, like co-working, cloud virtual machine support, Docker support, this thing called Space, which is a virtual execution environment that's like exclusive to JetBrains stuff.
So that was another very interesting thing that I don't know how long Space has been around for JetBrains, but as somebody who runs a development studio, and one of the things we fight with is making sure everybody's got a good version of a development environment. Docker has gone a long ways to help us with this. And standardizing on Docker containers makes it easier. This idea of pushing that development environment to something like Spaces is pretty appealing to me. I haven't looked into it much yet, but I definitely want to check that one out.
Now, along with this, JetBrains also announced Phpstorm 2021.3, which is their newest version that supports generics, enums, all the new stuff that's well, let's say first off, all the enums and new stuff that's in 8.1, as well as generics, support for doctrine collection generics, Laravel 9 collections, which use generics, generic types from constructors, and PHP stan generics. So if you don't know about generics, it's a really handy coding tool to make sure that the contents of an array or a class match a structure that you define somewhere. which is not supported by PHP or not enforced by PHP, but when it's integrated into the IDE, it can show you if something is going to go wrong because you've got the wrong object type in your structure. So it's a very, very useful development tool, but it is not supported within PHP itself. And it's probably not ever going to be supported in PHP.
Nikita's not there anymore. So you're saying maybe it has a chance?
Absolutely
Ben
not.
Ramsey. Ben Ramsey.
After seeing the fight that went down over a simple deprecation warning this week, generics is never going to make it. I believe that we had talked about deprecating dynamic properties last time we recorded.
Yeah.
Yep.
It did pass. It barely met the 2/3 threshold that's required, but boy, it was a fight. I mean, the hundreds of posts on internals of people supporting or not supporting, just awful. The final result of it is that in 8.2, a deprecation warning will be thrown, and it will not be an error exception until 9.0, which I don't even think is on the release cycle yet.
But wait, Tom, we're not done talking about JetBrains yet. We still haven't addressed the remote development part of this. Should I continue?
No,
Yes, you should.
yes.
Are you talking about a fleet or JetBrains in general?
That's their new thing. Another new thing.
They've got more new things. So we're talking about VS Code and how JetBrains is looking like they're trying to position to compete a little bit more with the lower end. No, I shouldn't say that. The not as good as, no, won't say that either. The lighter weight editors.
Keep going and
like
see how long
VS
your
Code.
microphone works.
And we talked about how VS Code has VS Code.dev, and we're talking about all that. JetBrains now is creating a solution for that as well, and they're taking a very unique approach to this. You mentioned spaces, and I think this plays into spaces as well.
Not spaces, just space.
Space. I'm sorry.
JetBrains
You're absolutely right.
space.
JetBrains now has a product called Gateway, JetBrains Gateway. And this is different in the sense that this is meant to run on a server that you manage, or not even a server, a system that you manage. It could be a server in the cloud. It could be your desktop.
Gateway
and
or projector?
Don't get ahead of me. Don't get ahead of me.
I try not to, but there's so many things
Bring
that
it back.
JetBrains did this week for some reason.
So this one's called Gateway. I probably should have done projector first because of reasons, but I started with Gateway. This is the one I'm going to try. So what Gateway is it's meant to be installed on a system that you can access via SSH. And you can put it on a powerful server, or in my case, I put it on my desktop. And if you can SSH to the box, it will then allow you to launch that lightweight IDE editor, not Fleet, although I wouldn't be surprised if it gets replaced with Fleet. I think it's the same lightweight editor that Code With Me uses. That's JetBrains,
Yep.
right? Code With Me?
Yep, that's it.
It seems like they've put a lot of work in it because I hadn't even realized I was in the lightweight IDE when I was testing this.
It's not a lightweight IDE. It's a
is.
rendering engine change for IntelliJ. And so
I'm
IntelliJ.
pretty sure it says a lightweight.
Oh, I am looking
says
at the wrong thing again. Jumped ahead of you.
Yep.
Yeah, let's
That's fine.
mute that part and edit it out. Clap check.
Yeah, I'll
There we
cut
go.
it. I'll make sure I put it in the show notes though.
Yep.
So if you have SSH access, or again, Gateway works with space as well. You can connect to the server and you edit everything. Or not server, system. You connect to the system and you edit everything on that remote system. So the files on the remote system, the editor is working off the remote system. So if you have something, if I remember correctly, this is the one that can actually run on a Chromebook. So if you have something like a Chromebook, you can actually run this and you don't have to worry about power. Now, the thing that intrigues me the most about this, and one of the things that came up short with the VS Code approach, is because it's on my system, I have all my services available to me. I have my web server, I have my database server, I have whatever tools I use for testing, and you can do port forwarding for those tools. So my plan next week, as I will be a nomad for a couple of weeks until I can move into my new house, I am giving John my desktop, my System 76 desktop. He's going to hook it up, and my plan is to continue to work off this desktop. Now, here's my challenge. The moment I saw that all I needed was SSH access to my machine, I thought to myself, well, if I have SSH access, I can just use Vim. So why would I do this? Because I already have that connection.
Well, but does your Vim have Vim bindings?
But I'm going to give this an honest try. If it's slow, I will fall back. Jesus Christ. If it's slow, I will fall back to Vim. That's always good. And I'm very excited to make sure my Cloudflare configuration works. I'm using that Cloudflare service that allows me to SSH to my machine. So we're going to see how it works. So I'm excited about this. I will be reporting on it. I don't know how often I'm going to be able to record with you guys, but if I can record with you guys, I'll let you know how it's going.
The exciting part is having to fend off people from under the freeway bridge while you've got a MacBook in your hands or something like that. Remember, start with the cheap tent, stab your way up.
So Tom kind of gave a little bit of a spoiler. There's another project, yet another project,
which I can't discern as different in any way.
Well, it is different because this one works a little differently in the sense that first thing you need to have the ID running on your system. I do think there's a command line version to it.
There is,
but Projector, which is the other project we're talking about, is very similar to Gateway. However, Projector is the one that allows you to access it through a browser. So what you do is kind of like Gateway. You get on a system. This again can be a server, could be a desktop, whatever it is. You fire up Projector, and to Tom's credit, he's correct. I remember doing this now. There is a command line version. You can launch the IDE if you want, but there's actually a command line version you can launch as well. So again, if you have SSH access, you can SSH to it. It will then give you a URL to your machine to a port. So I think the port is a port for me. It was like 8,888 or something. You can connect to it through your browser, a la vscode.dev. So that's the biggest difference. Now, the thing that's appealing to that is the idea that I could still work off my iPad. Now, I'm not talking about for the next couple of weeks why I'm a nomad,
right?
But if I go to a conference or something and all I have is my iPad and I need to do some development, I can fire up an SSH terminal, I can launch it on my desktop, and then I have my browser interface to my coding environment, which again is on that system, my system or whatever system, and I have access to my web servers, my database servers, blah, blah, blah. We went through all that. These are all very promising projects, and I do kind of like the idea that you still are running this stuff on your systems. You're not dependent on some free service. Like, as somebody who does this professionally, and as somebody who makes money doing this, my antennas go up for things like VSCode.dev. It's like, how can this be free? Like, this is crazy, and I don't know if I can trust this.
And things go down all the time. AWS goes down, GitHub goes down. If how you make your living is coding and that's down for a few hours, that would suck.
Absolutely. Yeah. So running this stuff, I have no quorums running. I happen to have a very hunky desktop, so I'm doing it on my desktop. But spinning up a server in DigitalOcean and throwing this on DigitalOcean and locking down that server, that's very easy to do. Instead of going, if you need a new development environment, instead of spending $3,000 on the new MacBook, you spend $50 a month on a DigitalOcean machine for the months you need to do development. That's high end for DigitalOcean. I mean, I think DigitalOcean is like as low as $10 a month. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm paying $5.
Yeah. So these are good solutions for real world developers. I say that. I assume if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a real developer and not somebody who does it, on a whim and just to see what it does, because this is way above your pay grade.
Yes. But speaking of flattering our listeners,
we have new patrons. We have
huge
two.
Thank you to all of our patrons.
Let's see. I want to see the new Patreons come on. Now we have to watch all. Somebody's got to do some filler.
And our international people are starting to get their packages.
Oh,
actually,
yeah.
Had somebody reach out and say, "Hey, it's stuck in customs right now. I'm sorry, I don't do a whole lot of international shipping, so I don't know all the rules."
Stop putting all that cocaine into the stuffed animals.
They don't think it's a bomb, but they want to know why I would want it in the first place.
So supposedly me just typing to them saying, "Yes, this was a gift," was enough. And if you're in the customs office, it was a gift. It was a thank you gift for these people that support us on Patreon.
John C.
And James Harding.
H. James Harding.
Oh, hey, H. Yeah, James H. James Harding, the professional basketball player, is listening to the show. Yes. And Darling Data in our Discord has been asking questions for the show. If you would like to ask questions for the show, where would you go, John?
I would go to discord.phpugly.com, which we normally do at the beginning of the show, and screwed that up.
We totally forgot, and it's okay. We have enough stuff. Yeah,
we haven't talked in 2 weeks. We're excited to talk again.
And we were really happy to see each other.
Been a week. Been 1 week.
To answer your question, Darling Data, do you ever use Linode? I have not used Linode in years. I'm kind of a DigitalOcean's person for my cheaper projects, and we do AWS for the higher end stuff.
I actually haven't even heard Linode in a long time.
Yeah,
feels like their product stagnated.
We had an old friend of ours that pushed Linode heavily, like absolutely loved Linode. We used it for DNS for a long time, but never spun up any machines on there.
I forgot about that.
Does it run Fox Pro?
No, you know who you know of the person I'm talking about.
I know.
Yeah.
I have him on Steam.
So we do have a channel.
No, not that person.
We do have a channel in our Discord. Where you can ask show questions. We have the general chat, which is where a lot of people just hang out. Darling Data also asked a question in there. We should give it some airtime. That if we couldn't code in PHP anymore because Ben Ramsey ruined it for everybody, Nikita left, and now PHP is going to die on the vine. Thank you, Ben Ramsey. What language would you code in?
That's exactly how it was written too. Word for word. I'm surprised you could read it like that.
Response was pretty good there. Tom, go in Rust. Why Rust?
I am interested in WebASM, the WebAssembly language.
Mm-hmm.
And Go and Rust, I believe, both export to WebASM. I'm also interested in more server-side asynchronous development.
Mhm.
We're getting that in 8.1,
Mhm.
but not in not a true asynchronous. It's not threads, it's fibers.
Mhm.
And there's just there's interesting stuff going on in Rust right now that I'm excited about. But I don't have the time.
John, how about you? And I know you were an old Perl person.
I was just gonna say I'd fall back to Perl. Go
Fall
back
back
to
to Perl?
CGI.
Okay.
I'm terrible. I mean, I understand changing languages as long as you pick up the syntax. It's not that hard. I'm old now and I don't want to try new languages.
Yeah. See, now I'm the opposite. I'm a language whore. I swear to God. If a language just has a couple of good syntax to it, I will give it a try. I'm pretty okay with Python. Like, I think had I not invested so much into PHP, I may have gone down the Python path. Python to me seems easy to pick up. It seems like a very naturally spoken sort of language. Much like Tom, I'm really interested in Rust. I'm really interested in Go. I've done some Go stuff in the past. Haven't done any Rust. I've been trying to get my head around C because I want to be able to contribute to core and continue to make Ben Ramsey look bad. But I'm not making a lot of progress.
But why not?
love.
Why did neither of you say Ruby?
Oh, I did Ruby for years. Oh, well, I did Rails. I didn't really do Ruby. I told you that story in the past.
Yeah, the only reason I bring that up is we'll talk more about this next week, but my kid's school is doing something around technology, and I was trying to find like prominent websites that use PHP that kids in middle or elementary school wouldn't get, and they're big into this Prodigy game, and it's a math-based learning game. And I start looking at it, and they have a career section, so I go to see what they require, and it's written in Ruby on Rails. And I'm like,
Wow.
Really? That's still it's
not
still a thing?
It's not a thing.
But this is a newer game. It's not like this is like legacy.
3 years old, 4 years old.
I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Don't know how old it is.
Ruby's not a thing. That's the thing. Is that
it's a thing? It's just not a popular thing as far as we know. How do we? Yeah, you're not in the community. How do you know?
Insert reference to Fox Pro here. Yeah, it's a thing. It exists. There's stuff running it, but like nobody's spinning up new Ruby sites.
So says you.
No, so says IntelliJ's survey. I think we discussed this 3-4 weeks ago that the JetBrains survey went out, and Ruby is basically a dead language or a dying language.
Darling, you said you never understood the appeal of Ruby. So
I think there's a gap where Node hadn't hit their really great version.
Go ahead, Tom. Finish your thought.
I think Ruby came out with asynchronous requests and responses. It was a strong framework on top of Rails, and Node was not mature enough that people were moving to it yet.
It?
Node
Rails
didn't
was on
exist.
top of
No, Ruby on Rails.
Node wasn't a thing.
No, Node was a thing, but the big dependency for Node was the Chrome engine for Node, which was the 7 release, was the big bump for Node. That was when their performance stuff got like really managed, and Node started to take off. But Node existed, but it wasn't really popular. But
I think you're absolutely wrong, but I'm curious about what John's response is.
Obviously, I don't know. All I know is back in the early 2000s, when I was a Perl developer. This is what I was trying to say when I was cut off.
No, I'm going to let you finish. I want to let you finish, Tom, but I first got to say I should have been the release manager. No. You guys didn't get it. I talked earlier about how I didn't need to be here. I just needed to record certain phrases, and one of them was, Tom, you're wrong, and nobody picked it up. Come on! I am common gold. You guys aren't working with me. Okay, go ahead.
Yes,
Go
and
ahead.
Anyway, early 2000s, I'm a Perl developer making the switch. Me and my friend at the time that brought me into the world of PHP, or into the world of Perl, actually, split ways. He went the way of Ruby first, and then kept trying to get me to go that route. And then for some reason, I went PHP. It's just this weird thing, and I'm happy that was the case. Obviously, here 20 years later. But
Can I give you guys the real reason? Do you guys care?
sure, I would love to
Shit.
hear your reason.
Tom, you look upset now. Do we hurt your feelings?
no, I misread something on Discord and responded, and now I realize that my joke wasn't as good as I thought it was.
I just read your Discord. You know who you're talking to, right?
Yeah, I know, but my whole night is ruined from that joke falling flat.
All right. So, as somebody in the enterprise at the time,
What's
I can tell
enterprise?
you exactly what happened. PHP was the accidental language, right? It wasn't meant to be a language to the extent of what it is today.
As Rasmus has recently said on many interviews, like he doesn't like PHP.
So the fact that it started
He's
picking up
supporting
steam
it
and all,
on the
all
foundation.
this, there was a lot of
$2,500.
discussion around what was good. The web was also taking off. Ruby on Rails was marketed as the first language. Ruby on Rails was the first language designed for the web. And every enterprise out there hooked their teeth in that marketing campaign. It's like, wait, we want to be on the web. Ruby is designed for the web. Ruby on Rails is a framework for Ruby. Everybody should be using Ruby on Rails. That's why there are other frameworks written using Ruby, but Ruby on Rails and Ruby was the combination that was a language designed for the web. Whether it's true or not, whatever. It was a very eloquent language at the time. Using it in active records and all that, it was very eloquent, and it did look like it had that concept. It had the whole MVC structure very early on. It understood object-oriented programming and all this other stuff. So there was a lot of benefits to it, and other languages caught up, and Ruby didn't keep innovating.
It had a lot of scarves and espressos behind it too.
Yeah. Well, I still to this day, I think the thing that saved PHP was the fact that you could spin up any server anywhere and get PHP, whether it was the old version or not. Nobody cared back then. To get Ruby on Rails running on a hosted provider was a pain in the ass.
Okay. So
Really?
Darling Data's asking what was the appeal, and having done a few mentoring sessions for PHP in a Ruby shop, which, let me tell you, don't do that. Don't do a mentoring session for a language that the company that's supporting you doesn't run, because there's always that guy who's like, oh yeah, that's we do that like this in Ruby. A lot of people were coming out of college ready to work, and they got hired by a web dev company, and they went, oh, web dev, that's not real programming. So they had to get the most advanced form of language that they could get. It had to support all of the stuff they learned in comp sci. And at that time, we were looking at PHP 5x, 5.4 and 5.5, I believe, which did not support a lot of advanced language features. So the choice was, do we go with PHP, which everyone thinks of as the WordPress language, or do we go with this new thing called Ruby, which is designed for the web, supports asynchronous, does all this cool fancy stuff? And they settled on the thing that most reflected their college educations. but didn't really reflect the development environment that they were getting into. Because Ruby at the time was significantly more difficult to learn, deploy, and maintain than PHP. But they wanted the cool new thing so they could do the cool new tricks. And I totally understand that appeal. I want 8.1 for the same reason. It's the thing with the cool new tricks. I want enums. I want all that support.
I do think you're selling it a little short, because also, if you remember at the time, there weren't great PHP frameworks, and Ruby on Rails was a great framework.
There were.
It had migrations. It had package management. Gems or whatever. It was very strong on testing, test-driven development. So
Yes.
it did bring a lot to the table. It wasn't just the reasons you're giving. It was a forward-thinking framework at that time. Again,
So
other languages is called.
Are you saying Laravel saved PHP?
I think frameworks in general saved PHP. Zen stepped up, Symfony stepped up, Cake PHP stepped up. I think Laravel.
After Laravel.
What fucking world do you live in? No, not after Laravel.
No, Cake existed. Cake. I'm not saying they didn't exist.
So,
CodeIgniter, Cake. CodeIgniter, Cake, Falcon.
The one thing Laravel did
framework
was Laravel was the first framework that took advantage of new architecture in PHP, package management, things like that. I think Laravel is one of the things that kind of kicked the ass of the other frameworks to, oh, hey, we need to support this stuff too, because Laravel is just taking off with it.
I'm 100% saying that. Laravel kicked all the other frameworks' ass. It was,
and that's good. I mean, that's
and,
good, right? I mean, it's what it's fine when it's within our own community that pushes that community forward.
Well,
it was killed
from the
Ruby.
Visual Studio community.
Or it's what killed Ruby on Rails, because that push forward didn't happen from within the community. Ruby on Rails dominated the Ruby language. There were other frameworks. Nobody else cared. Everybody used Ruby on Rails, and it just kind of fizzled.
Well,
away.
I think the fizzling away was because when Ruby on Rails was gaining its popularity at a let's say Boston market pace, we were still on 5.6 and 5.5. And we had been there for a long time, and the frameworks hadn't really moved forward a whole lot. Symfony was the best framework at the time, but because of the pace that it's developed, it was not catching on the way that it needed to. And then we get 7.0 and 7.1, and we get Laravel, and it's like, oh, you want a feature? Here's a feature. You want collections? You want generics? You want this and that and this and that? It's like stuff people forget how slow things were after 5.6 was released. It was a slog. We went to PHP. We had many PHP meetups where we talked about MySQL's version change, or we talked about other components, like how to optimize Apache or caching engines for Apache. What's that one called? The whatever. No, whatever.
No,
not laminate, but
the reverse proxy that.
Yeah,
what it was.
Whatever. There was a lot going on in web development, but not PHP. And if I'm sure if we go back and look at the meetups that we hosted at that time, it was about basic security practices, MySQL, or Varnish. Varnish, that's the one.
Thanks,
MySQL. We talked about integrating with APIs, and we didn't talk about PHP itself. There wasn't enough to talk about, and it's like now we've got 4 years of this podcast under our belt, where almost every episode, there's something about PHP that has changed or that we have learned that's improved. Like the language itself was so static at the time that Rails happened that, like, of course it got overlooked because it really was just the WordPress language. And this was around the same time where the article came out, which was PHP, a practice in bad design or something like that. Fractal of bad design, which was an article written purely out of spite, but it swamped the internet. Everything was running PHP, or a lot of things were running PHP, and this 50-page treatise on how bad PHP is came out, and it was just like, oh shit. And I think that contributed a lot to Ruby on Rails because there weren't a lot of other options.
Yep. I think that all kind of factors in. Okay. I think we had a very heavy... See, this is
John,
what we do.
you had a funny story.
You
I
did
did,
have
but
another
we're-
funny story, John.
It's a brief one. I can share it now, or we can wait till next week.
Let's do
Share-
it. Real
share it
brief.
now,
Let's go.
and
Let's
then
hear
I
it.
have...
Because
All right.
I'm not ending the show on Ruby on Rails.
Okay. I'm working today. I'm helping a junior developer with something, and he's trying to run. They're just not running. So a couple of us jump into Zoom to help him, and one of the things we're like, just try doing a composer install, and it just hangs and hangs and hangs, and like nothing seems to be working. For shits and giggles, I jump into my Docker container. I do a composer install, and it hangs. I'm like, that's weird. That's very weird. I'm like, just kill it and try php composer.far because we have that in our repo and do an install. That worked fine. We finally get it working just by not stopping Docker once, but twice to reset the networking. Everything starts working for them. Fast forward about 10 minutes, all of a sudden I'm in our ops channel, and we were getting these weird alerts about MySQL has gone away. So I jump on, we're researching, we spend probably 10 minutes looking at it, and within these logs is a user ID. And somebody else grabs that and they're like, that's not a real user ID in our system. I then recognize, I'm like, oh shit, that's my user ID in my local system. I just killed something on my system. It turned out when I hit composer install, it fired up Xdebug locally in my IDE and stopped that I didn't see. So then when I killed the Xdebug session, it sent off these Slack alerts, and I didn't have it differentiate between production and development. So I wasted the entire operations team's time for like 20-30 minutes looking into something that wasn't an issue.
I hope you didn't admit to it. Just been like, wow, that's so weird. Where that came from? That's strange.
But no, of course I did.
Maybe it's running on Eric's server because he's homeless now. Somebody check the tent.
Came from under the bridge. Why
Right.
is
So
that?
if you're new to the show, you picked a perfect day to tune in. We go 51 weeks out of the year not talking about PHP, and then the last show of the year we just ramble on and on.
Yeah.
So
If you're new to the show, this is
how
grossly misrepresentative of what we do.
this was a surprisingly good show. Do not set the bar this high listening in future shows, please.
I do have to give a plug to 24pullrequests.com. This is a seasonal open source contribution thing, very similar to Hacktober. They've got a good page telling you how to get involved and what projects you might like to work on, how to commit it to GitHub open source projects if it's your first time, which is a really important thing to learn even if you don't commit anything. Check it out. Learning how to contribute to open source even if you don't have anything to say yet is a skill you should have. So 24pullrequests.com.
That would be, for those in our Discord, that should be hitting our Discord channel here any second. So
it's a play on the whole 24 Days of Christmas.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification, Tom. I don't think you would have figured that one out.
Don't want to.
264 times we've done this. 264. That's it. PHPUgly is in the books. I'm Eric.
I'm John.
I'm Tom.
Keep it
ugly.
1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know, Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John. You know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out.
You
How mad
didn't
you guys
change
would
the
be
outro? Oh, yep.
No, I did not change the outro.
Okay. How mad do you guys want to be at me?
I mean, the average amount, really.
We were probably 20 minutes in before I started Zencaster.
So that was a way longer show than I even thought.
That might be the longest show we have ever recorded. And
I was gonna say, because I was like, I think we're running long, and I pulled up Zencaster to check, and it was like, no, 35 minutes, you're doing fine. You're right on time.
I thought something seemed off.
It's the Thanksgiving
Why would we be
2-hour
mad?
special.
You're the one that's gonna be mad.
Oh god, I know I'm the one who has to edit it, right?
All right, I gotta go take
my
my kid.
God.
I'll be right back.
You better get it edited before you're living in a tent.
I'm living. Hey, listen,
Also,
I got cardboard boxes to live in. I'll be fine.
Just need to point this out real quick. Eric's background looks like dildos wearing hats. Or John's background looks like dildos wearing hats.
The elephants?
Yeah.
Oh, I see it now. Oh, you're right.
It's just, yeah. Oh, put a hat on these. No one will notice. You need to send me a physical copy of that book.
For the record, I had one of those big purple elephants for you, Tom. I was trying to get to you. I had a big ass purple elephant I was going to give you. You just couldn't make 5 minutes for me to drop something off. I would have come to you.
I really couldn't, dude. It was as great as the vacation it was, because it really was like the nicest vacation I've ever taken in my adult life. It was packed. And like it was, you can ship that shit to me. You can do it.
Well, it's back in storage now. I gotta get it. You gotta wait till after I move.
Oh, what do you know? Do you have any idea what you're really gonna do yet?
Yeah, we're cool. We've got it taken care of.
Hotel? No.
Yeah. An extended stay hotel. So it's gonna be like
what, out in El Cajon?
No, it's actually here in Poway.
Free drugs.
Because but Beck, she works from home too, right?
Yeah.
So she actually now has to go into the office to work because
She's got her booster, right?
The amount of bandwidth her system needs, because they do the medical record stuff. They're throwing images, X-rays and stuff all over the place.
Well, and it's HIPAA, which is like no local code execution. It's only remote code execution.
Yeah. So she can't run her system off just any Wi-Fi. We were looking at doing Airbnbs, but for the amount of time we need it, we're looking like at $10,000.
Yeah, that's like $150 a day minimum.
Yeah. So yeah, I was stressed about it. But we got something down here in Poway, and
that's good.
We'll be fine. Yeah, it's going to be tight quarters for a while, but then we get the new house, and everybody should be happy. I think everybody's kind of mentally preparing to be on top of each other and things. But we'll see.
I'm getting hounded by this recruiter.
Oh, that's something else. On one of the shows I was listening to, you were talking about how you would never work in management. You would only ever want to be a developer. You don't ever want to be in charge of any other person. You don't understand how people do it. You would make a...
I still don't.
You've got... I'm telling you, it's entertaining to go back and listen to. I never thought... I never understood why people did it, but it's...
Can't do it.
That's bad. You need to go back and listen to your old shows.
No, never doing that.
Oh
man.
You also said you never be in management, so talk to you again in 6 years.
Yeah, I'll never be retired.
I'll
never be a crypto billionaire. Ever.
Just trying to speak it into existence.
Dude, crypto has been rough. ADA, man, got delisted from an exchange and crashed.
What did?
ADA, the coin that I'm all in on.
Oh. Why are you all in on anything other than Bitcoin?
Because
I
ADA
don't
is
that either.
You have to see the community behind ADA. You have to it's a long
that's
play.
at the community here.
Really. It's a research based blockchain. So like they do basically like white papers and voting committee voting for projects and stuff like that, and it's really good. It's just it's not moving much right now because things in Africa are kind of like up in the air.
So seriously, let's talk about real stuff instead of make-believe money. I don't know what I'm going to do while I am remote. I don't think I'm going to have the resources to edit, much less join the podcast. I will try to join.
You know who's never edited?
There's a reason for this, Tom.
Oh, that's right. He gets high and stares at the screen for too long.
I will try. I will honestly try, but I don't know if I'll be able to do it.
I can edit.
I don't know. I'll try.
You need a podcast bag. You need a backpack or something that's just podcast equipment, so that you can just take it anywhere and set up real fast.
So I still actually have. I still actually
Is
have
he wearing a thong?
My mini
What?
Yeti. Did you see my tramp stamp? I still actually have my mini Yeti. I don't know.
Didn't know you were into butterflies. See, I think you can. I think you can take that and a weak laptop and pull it off.
All right.
Why can't you just take? Why can't you just take your mic with you?
Well, it's got he doesn't have a.
I'm not
he doesn't have a
lugging this
desk
big ass
stand
thing
for
around
it.
with me. Well,
grab
that's
your-
the other thing.
Grab your
I don't know if I'm
mic
gonna.
stand.
It's not a matter of mics though. I don't know if I'm gonna have a space. Like I don't know. I'm not gonna have a room. I don't know if I don't know. I'll see.
Tell your kids to go to the bar for a while. You've got to do a podcast.
I
Give
don't
them
know. Man.
a handful of nickels and
see
kick
what
them
I
out the
can
door.
do. I am trying a new service. Somebody turned me on to a new service called Clear Voice. So when I edit the podcast, I got my editing down pretty quick. Like if you guys, I don't know if you noticed, Tom, but I typically release an hour or two after we stop recording. So I have Audacity scripts down so that it cleans things up. We have gotten so much better at our speaking where we're not doing the ands, ums, but.
Yeah.
So I don't even worry about those anymore. Like they're still in there, but they're so few. The only time I worry about it is if somebody really does something like bad or says something or like, dogs barking in the background that I take notice of. Oh, I forgot to fucking do the timestamp of the goddamn Honey Badger commercial. That is the one thing I did forget to do. Shit.
Was that before or after the recording started?
It was after. But so Audacity does a really good job.
You should be able to spot it looking at the histogram because I yell Honey Badger.
It's so small you barely see it.
No, but I yelled Honey Badger before we ran it this time.
All right, I'll check. So the Audacity editing goes real fast. Then I typically throw it through another service called Audiophonic or something. I've been using it for years. There's a new service I started using called Clear Voice, and I actually did it on John and I's podcast. And it is AI that looks for stutters, ands, ums, and buts and cuts it out. It does a really good job. So I'm running it through a few services now. Was really happy with the way our So we ran so long today. John and I knocked out the PHP podcast in like under 10 minutes. This week. It hadn't been the quickest PHP podcast ever. But I don't know. Maybe I can't edit it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to record. I really don't. I don't know if I'm going to have the space to record. I don't know if I'm going to have the bandwidth to record. I just don't know. So we'll find out. It'll be kind of a week by week thing, I think.
Yeah, just go to a public library, get drunk, and put a microphone and camera up.
In case you don't notice, we record at 9:00 at night. Public libraries aren't open at 9:00 at night. Not a lot of places are open in San Diego at 9:00 at night. So he's looking up the 24-hour Starbucks or something. What are you looking for, Tom?
Just looking at when the public libraries close.
They close it. Maybe you don't remember what it was like to live in San Diego.
You getting kicked out of a library live on stream would be great, though. Sir, you can't sleep here. Yeah.
You know me. This is my show. If I can record, I will record. I have recorded.
You need one of those Twitch live streamer harnesses.
That's gonna be my new thing. That's one of the things I'm gonna take note of. I'm gonna take note of all the weird places I recorded because I've recorded in some strange places.
I love that the cat tree is like one of the last remaining furniture pieces.
I do have the new Pixel Pro. Maybe I'll just record off the Pixel. I'll just go out back and stream.
Can you get a 3 1/4 plug for your microphone? No, but the Pixel Pro, Pixel Pro comes with a USB-C to USB-A, which you can plug your Yeti in.
Stop talking. Look what I have. I already have this for another project.
Dude,
I already have it.
Perfect. Our man on the scene, Eric Van Johnson. Eric?
McDonald's.
Starbucks.
I don't know.
I shit you not.
You guys don't know what it's like to live in San Diego. These places
but the Starbucks
open past 9:00.
No, but you sit in your car in front of them and the Wi-Fi is still on.
They turn it off.
I played somebody who had
before.
I played somebody who had 3 ping on Rocket League once, and I asked them where they were possibly getting a 3 ping internet access from, and they said it was Starbucks.
The one here in Poway turns theirs off. I've tried that before.
Really?
Ah, you
They
can
used
hack
to.
it.
I'll go check again, but
Well, a lot of bars and nightclubs and strip clubs have free Wi-Fi. They're open till
there
2.
you go. Now you're thinking, Tom.
See?
I like
See?
that. There you go. Now you're
Just
thinking,
gotta-
buddy.
Just got to get that
Hey,
background blur
I
going.
need ones. I got to record.
I'm sorry, baby. We ran long tonight.
Oh my goodness. Gee, I wish I had an office to go to, but damn CEO was like too cheap to keep the office.
You know, that and a global pandemic.
Yeah, well, there was that piece of it. My kid's still listening.
Yeah,
That's awkward.
They say that like they don't enjoy strip clubs too.
Oh boy. I don't want to know.
Oh.
All right. All right.
All
Is that
right.
it? We're wrapping up.
That's
Thanks,
gonna
everybody,
wrap
for
it up
hanging out.
tonight. Thank you everybody for listening, and sorry about next week's episode.
The next
It's
month.
gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Bye.